Tammy Wynette was an American sensation who revolutionized country music for women and helped bring female vocals and representation to what was once a male-dominated genre. Her unique voice has been acclaimed by critics, writers, and journalists alike, with many of her songs rising to #1 on Billboard country singles, including I Don't Want to Play House, Divorce, and the self-penned Stand By Your Man. However, the content of these songs has received varied opinions, especially when it comes to how they reflect her life beyond the stage, specifically her love life. And now, after years of her death, things have come to light that were a secret before, including revelations by her last husband and her daughter from a previous marriage. It is said that what a person becomes is determined in part by the childhood they led, and this becomes increasingly relevant when it comes to Tammy Wynette. From a young age, Wynette had a difficult childhood full of struggles and tragedy. When she was only 9 months old, her father, who doted on her, received a terminal diagnosis of a brain tumor. Realizing his time with his daughter was cut short, he decided to make a choice that would alter young Wynette's life forever. Taking his only daughter with him, he introduced her to the family piano and made a final wish to ensure that the dreams he had would be realized. He asked Wynette to learn the piano when she grew older, sealing her fate to music. Perhaps, if he had known how deeply it would impact her, he might have chosen another wish. But what was said, and soon after, he passed away, leaving behind a family with broken hearts and dreams. After her father's death, Wynette's mother was too distressed to take care of her properly, so she left her in the care of her grandparents' farm in Mississippi and went to work in Memphis on a defense plant in World War II. On the farm, her life was not easy either. She spent hours helping around, most of her time being spent picking cotton on the farm. She was raised alongside her aunt and developed a sister-like bond with her, referring to her grandparents as Mama and Papa and her birth mom as a distant mother. She later recalled these days with discomfort, talking about her hatred for picking cotton and the tiredness she experienced working from such a young age. It was no wonder then that she began to grow rebellious and went against the rules set for her by her caretakers. Soon Wynette was old enough to attend high school, and this is when her defiance truly showed itself. Since she was incredibly popular, she tried her hand at all the cool traditions she saw, including smoking, dating, and being with the opposite sex. A friend from her younger years later recalled how she was into dating and boys long before her peers. It was no surprise that she soon fell in love with a guy. This young man was a member of her church named Billy Cole, and Wynette was determined to martyr him, ordering cheap dollar rings from a store to seal the deal. However, Wynette's mother discovered her and put an end to the courtship before her daughter made any rash decisions. Unfortunately, this hiccup did not teach Wynette much. If anything, it made her determination to win against her mother next time grow tenfold. And so came the time for Wynette's first marriage of the 5 she was going to have throughout the course of her life. Wynette's first marriage was with Billboard, which happened when she was only 17, and with a lot of drama. Firstly, Wynette's mother was dead set against her daughter running off to marry another man as soon as she left the first. And not only did she refuse to sign the papers to officiate this, she threw her daughter out of the house. This is where her grandfather came to the rescue, thinking he was doing right by helping her get love, unaware that he was signing off her life. Her first marriage was horrible. She and her husband argued about his inability to hold a job and live for free on one of her grandfather's properties, which was in decrepit conditions with no running water and electricity. During this time, she also had her first child, making conditions even more difficult. Since Bird jumped from one job to the next, Wynette also had to move constantly. She got a job as a singer in a bar, and while everyone saw potential in her, Bird was not supportive. Soon after, due to a myriad of reasons, Wynette reached her breaking point and had a nervous breakdown, after which she was admitted to a psychiatric hospital and suffered rounds of electric shock treatment. Being released and seeing what her marriage had turned into, Wynette finally decided to get a divorce and parted ways with Bird in 1965. Her life only got harder. She was now a single mother, with 2 kids and a third on the way, and her youngest daughter had developed spinal meningitis. She was only 20, on the road looking for a way to make things work, when she found her second husband, Don Chappell. Chappell was a musician and recognized her talents, trying to help her win work, but she received rejection after rejection. Although she got a break and produced a great song, she soon realized that being a woman meant double the struggles. Tour dates were hard to arrange, agents were double-minded, and even her marriage suffered. In her autobiography, she stated that Chappell was using her by taking racy pictures of her and trading them for money, for which he sued her later. And these events combined meant that soon she was falling for another man, her friend, and another musician, George Jones. After her second marriage ended with a bang, with Jones and Chappell fighting and a dramatic reveal of her feelings after, Wynette ran away with Jones, taking her 3 daughters along. On the outside, this marriage was perfect. Jones was a fellow country musician, and together they made many songs. They lived together in a 6,000-square-foot home in Florida and were deeply in love. However, it appeared that Wynette's marriages were meant to be doomed. It turns out that Jones was a heavy drinker, which led to her relationship with him being marked by constant turmoil and arguments. Things turned deadly when, right after the birth of their first and only child together, Jones was straitjacketed for his addiction and spent 10 days in Watson Clinic to detoxify. He was abusive too, chasing her around the house with a loaded rifle on one occasion and then pulling up a disappearing act, going absent for days without warning. When this got too much, Wynette decided she had enough and decided to divorce him. However, since they had shared such an intense relationship, she was never able to truly cut ties and continued performing by his side. This marked the time when Wynette's life started falling apart. She developed a health condition that resulted in chronic pain, due to which she became addicted to analgesics. After her doctors noticed her misuse and refused to prescribe more, she grew increasingly frantic in the chase. During this time, she dove headfirst into her 4th marriage with Michael Tomlin, who spent money carelessly and lived a high life, and they divorced just after 6 weeks of marriage. Unexpectedly, she had still not learned her lesson. Finally came about her last marriage was with George Rishi, who was a controlling man, isolating her from all those close to her and taking control of her finances. Her family disliked him immensely, and her eldest daughter said he enabled her addiction and made her get worse. Then came about a crazy secret. Wynette got kidnapped and was taken away to be beaten up and dumped with several bruises, including a broken cheekbone. While this was concerning, there was a more disturbing version. Her daughter said that Wynette had fabricated the whole story to cover up the wounds she got from Richie's abuse. But there was more to come. On 6 April 1988, Wynette suddenly passed away while asleep at home, at only 55 years of age. While the doctors said it was because of a blood clot in her lung, her children refused to believe it, suspecting foul play from her husband. They sued him, and her body was exhumed and re-examined for new information, which determined the cause of her death to be from cardiac arrhythmia. Although there was not enough plausible evidence, her daughters did not give up, and hence came the ultimate showdown. Wynette's daughter Georgette Jones published the book The Three of Us, which showed her mother from her lens, in which George Jones was the true love of her life. It was also made into a miniseries called George and Tammy, in which her last husband Rishi was the bad guy who came between their love. After seeing this depiction, the big reveal came. Richie sued Showtime for defamation and for depicting him villainously, and vehemently denied that he had been anything like he had been shown to be. Her eldest daughter, Jackie Daly, also published a book talking about Wynette's life, in which Richie was portrayed similarly, but the man himself has continued denying this as the truth. It is no secret that Tammy Wynette's life was a tragic one, with a difficult childhood that impacted her throughout, and the fact she never found true love, even though it was arguably what she wanted the most in the world. However, she changed country music as the world knew it, and that is something she will always be fondly remembered by. What is your favorite Tammy Wynette song? Tell us in the comments below.